Coming to the stage, Summer Yang. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Can you all hear me in the back over there? Yeah. Awesome. So here is how I surrendered to history and won. So I know standing in front of an audience full of teachers, I want you to think about the reason that you became a teacher. I bet the reason had everything to do with your salary. Just kidding. I certainly hope, though, it has nothing to do with job security or more time off. Now, a second question, what is a teacher? According to Merriam-Webster, one whose occupation is to instruct. But to me, a teacher has the potential to be so much more. But first, let's talk about my journey since elementary school. Since I was very, very young, I've always disliked history. Due to my involvement with my dual Mandarin immersion program, I grew up learning many subjects in Chinese, one of them being history. Learning history in Chinese is like dealing with that one student in your class. You know exactly who I'm talking about. It's hard, right? Well, my dislike for history progressed over the years. I never understood the importance of it. Why was the American Revolution relevant to the French Revolution? Why was Christopher Columbus's discovery of the Americas so important? It happened in the past. What does it have to do with my life? As my dislike for history progressed into high school, it was absolutely an insane experience. So basically, I decided freshman year, ace all my classes, did that. Being a perfectionist has always been a characteristic that I've held close to my heart. That sometimes when I held myself to such a high standard, I forgot to stop and look around to see how this was affecting my mental health. Keeping that in mind, let's begin the journey of my sophomore year. It's August 17th, 2022. I'm looking down at my schedule, suddenly regretting the choices that I've made. AP European History, room 205. I make my way into the classroom, passing my peers and looking up to the whiteboard to see the agenda clearly written on it. My teacher stands in the center of the classroom. She stands there with a purpose. But what is her purpose? School has always been an incredibly important part of my life. Academic validation was a part of my life. So when I had the chance to take a class in a subject that I absolutely hated, I took that chance. And I made some discoveries along the way. I loved the idea of being knowledgeable, and I discovered I actually liked history. I always say it's about the methods. If you have a teacher that can't effectively communicate a subject to their students, they will end up not liking the subject or not understanding it completely, compared to having a teacher who understands the subject and translates it well to the students, that can change their opinion about it. That's what happened to me, and thus it affects your opinions. So my teacher, Miss Harrison, taught me that history is not actually boring. I loved hearing her go off on tangents about characters and people and stories during European history, like Louis XVI, who was not fit to be a ruler, and his wife, Marie Antoinette, who may not actually have said, "Let them eat cake." So during our assignments, our one-pagers, she made us do outside connections. So when I watched movies like Mr. Peabody and Sherman, and I saw them travel back in time to see the painting of the Mona Lisa and the French Revolution, I can say for a fact, I was so happy to see that I actually understood what was happening. And so with her influence, I was compelled to join the humanities program at our school. A girl, a student, me, who absolutely disliked all subjects, especially history and English, was willingly joining this because of her influence. Besides loving the subjects, she taught me many important lessons. Everyone may know the positive stereotype Asians have, the model minority stereotype, in which we are seen as smart, high-achieving, hardworking, obedient, and more successful than the average individual. It may seem positive to be seen in this way, but it's actually very harmful because the pressure it puts on students is incredibly hard to watch because there's pressure from ourselves, from parents, from society. We have dark thoughts that consume us to be the best. It can be so bad that I actually have a friend who had thoughts of committing suicide because her mom kept comparing her to her friends and their academic achievements. And because of college and our goals in the future, this pressure is incredibly hard. But when we have a teacher to reach out to us, this lifts our burden. Like a perfectionist, failure was never an option for me. But when Ms. Harrison reached out to me, she taught me many important lessons. The love for learning, the grit and perseverance. And when I got a B in my first semester of AP European History, I was 1% away from an A. That was already rounded though, so it's not like that at my school. But basically, she didn't give me the grade that I wanted, but the grade that would push me. So a teacher's purpose is not to just teach the subject. Yes, it's important, but to build character. The story of Aristotle and Alexander the Great was not about educating, but building character from a holistic approach. Basically, he taught him outside of the classroom, taught him values that he took with him to become the person that he is. And that is how you should teach a student. And so over the years, my family and I have seen the growth from elementary through middle through high school, and I've grown so much. My 5th grade teacher taught me to smile more. My 6th, 7th, and 8th grade Chinese teachers taught me to work hard for something outside of school. And my AP European History teacher, Ms. Harrison, as you all may know by now, has taught me to take a break and relax and to embrace failure. Because one fail does not mean a lose-lose situation, but a roadblock to a greater path ahead. Yes, I'm guilty. I still wish for straight A's. But having a B or a C is much easier because I've accepted that I've tried my best, and that's enough. I am enough. So here is my teacher, Ms. Harrison, on the right, and my history teacher right now for US History, Mr. Equals, and my 5th grade teacher, Ms. Music. So I have left the classroom, AP European History, learning much more than European history. I have learned a lot about myself, the self-discovery, the realization, the warmth that I felt within myself. Because of my teacher's words of wisdom, words of encouragement, I have grown so much. You may not know this, but your words of encouragement, willingness to listen, and the insight that you see in your students that we cannot see ourselves will build us to great leaders in the future. It's June 7th, 2023, the last day of my sophomore year. I smile as I finish my presentation. I look up to the board to see top 10 reasons to take AP European History. When I entered this classroom, I was closed-minded and reluctant, but now I'm leaving with a heavy heart, but happiness that I've grown so much. I know many teachers in this room right now have created life-changing impacts on their students. Thank you so much for all that you do. Sometimes we may not show it or say it, but we are incredibly appreciative of all that you have done for us and the difference you've made in our lives. So whenever you're frustrated and wonder why you became a teacher, I want you to go back in time to the very first day you started teaching and the hopes and dreams you had for your students. And I want you to remember that they were lucky to call you their teacher. In the end, I surrendered to history, and I won. Thank you.